Welcome back to NFL Nexus. When the NFL offseason kicks off, all the headlines are about the huge trades, right? The massive nine-figure quarterback contracts. And it's so easy to get swept up in all that. But if you really look closely, the deals that truly build a championship team, well, they're often the ones that you barely even hear about. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into one of those exact moves, a Chicago Bears signing that, on the surface, looks pretty minor, but is actually a masterclass in smart, forward-thinking team building.
Okay, let's just get right into it. On March 9th, just before the free agency floodgates really opened up, Ian Rappaport dropped this news. Now, in an off-season where you're seeing these crazy, gigantic contracts flying around, a 2-year deal for a depth linebacker? It might seem kind of small, maybe even forgettable. But the story behind this deal, the absolutely incredible performance that earned it, and what it signals for the Bears' strategy, well, that's where things get really interesting. See, this is way more than just keeping a guy on the roster. It's about rewarding someone who stepped up big time, it's about building a winning culture, and it's all about keeping your options wide open. So to really get why this contract is such a big deal, you got to go back to the 2025 season. The Bears' defense, they were really starting to click, looking like a seriously tough unit. But, as any football fan knows, a season is a marathon, not a sprint. And right in the middle of a playoff push, the team got hit with what could have been a total catastrophe, something that threatened to throw their entire season right off the rails.
Look, Tremaine Edmonds wasn't just some player on this defense. He was the brain, the central nervous system. He was the Mike linebacker, which means he had that green dot on his helmet, getting the plays from the sideline and relaying them to everybody else on the field. And he was having an unbelievable career-best year, a monster against both the run and the pass. So when he goes down with a groin injury that's bad enough to land him on injured reserve, it was just a massive blow. He was gone for at least 4 critical games. The heart of the defense was just gone.
And that's the question, right? The one that can make or break a team's entire season. It is the ultimate test of your coaching, your scouting, your whole philosophy. Do you have the depth? Is there a next man up who's actually ready to handle the insane physical and mental pressure of being a starter in this league? For the Bears, the answer came from a guy who, just a couple months earlier, wasn't even on the team. A guy known way more for his hustle on special teams than for being a defensive anchor.
So, enter DeMarco Jackson. He was a former 5th-round pick by the Saints, and the Bears grabbed him off waivers late in the preseason. The plan for him was pretty simple. Be a key guy on special teams, provide some emergency depth at linebacker. But, well, with Edmonds going down, that in case of emergency break glass moment, it happened. All of a sudden, Jackson was thrown into one of the toughest jobs in all of football, starting middle linebacker, making the calls, setting the entire defense, and you better believe opposing offenses were going to target the new guy. The pressure was absolutely immense.
And what happened next is the whole reason we're even talking about this today. Jackson didn't just survive. He didn't just manage the game. He put on a show that was so far beyond what anyone expected that it completely changed the course of his career. It forced the Bears' front office to look at him as not just a backup, but a potential key piece of their future. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. 260 defensive snaps, that's not a huge sample size. And you're right, it was over 4 games. But what he did in that small window, the impact he had was just off the charts. It was, and I'm not exaggerating, kind of historic. We're going to look at the numbers right now, and they are genuinely shocking.
So his overall grade from Pro Football Focus during that 4-game stretch was an 83.8. Now, to give you some context on that, PFF grades every single player on every single play. A grade in the 60s is average, 70s is good, but anything in the 80s, that's high-quality stuff. We're talking borderline elite. For a guy who was claimed off waivers, who had very little practice time in this defensive system, to step into the hardest linebacker spot and play at that level, it is just phenomenal. It tells you everything about his preparation and his football IQ. But listen, as good as that PFF grade is, this next number is the one that's just, honestly, it's jaw-dropping. 29.7. That wasn't just his grade in pass coverage. No. That was the official NFL passer rating opposing quarterbacks had when they were foolish enough to throw the ball in his direction. Just let that number sink in for a second. 29.7.
So what does a 29.7 passer rating actually mean? Because it's a number that's so low, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. A perfect passer rating in the NFL is 158.3. So a 29.7, it's at the complete other end of the spectrum. To be that dominant in coverage, especially as a middle linebacker, is almost unheard of. It means you aren't just covering your assignment. You're basically making him invisible, completely erasing him from the play. And this chart right here just perfectly illustrates how insane that is. You know when a quarterback takes the snap and just spikes the ball into the ground to stop the clock? That play, an intentional incompletion, results in a passer rating of 39.6. Think about that. It was literally a better, safer, more statistically sound decision for a quarterback to just spike the ball into the turf than to even try to throw it near DeMarco Jackson. He was a black hole in the middle of the field. That is a true shutdown performance. This quote from Pete Martuniak's analysis, man, it just says it all. This wasn't just some guy filling in and doing an okay job. This was dominant, game-changing football from a player who was supposed to be nothing more than a temporary patch. He took a crisis and turned it into his own personal showcase. So after a performance like that, the Bears front office, led by general manager Ryan Poles, they had a decision on their hands. They could have just let him play out the rest of his cheap deal and maybe risk losing him later, or they could be proactive and reward the guy. They, very wisely, chose to reward him, and in doing so, they sent a message that echoed through that entire organization. And this deal is absolutely life-changing for DeMarco Jackson. This 2-year contract is worth more than double the entire 4-year rookie deal he signed with the Saints. This right here is what happens when you are ready for your shot. He bet on himself, he put in the work behind the scenes, and when that door of opportunity creaked open, he didn't just walk through it, he kicked it down. And the Bears saw that and paid him for it. But here's the thing. This deal is so much bigger than just being a nice reward for one guy. When you look at it from a team-building perspective, from a strategy perspective, this move is an absolute home run by Ryan Poles. It really shows you the philosophy of how this front office is building their team. This meat and potatoes analogy is just perfect. You know, championship teams aren't just built on the flashy, expensive signings that grab all the headlines. They're built on a solid foundation of smart, efficient, necessary deals just like this one. It's about finding value where others might not be looking. It's about securing quality depth. And it's about setting your team up to win now and in the future. Let's just tick through the genius moves here. First, the Bears lock up a player they know can step in and play at a super high level if a starter gets hurt. Second, it creates awesome, healthy competition in that linebacker room. And third, and maybe this is the most important part, it sends a powerful message to every single guy in that locker room. If you come here and you perform, we will take care of you. It doesn't matter if you were a first-round pick or claimed off waivers. That's how you build a rock-solid culture. And the financial part of this might just be the most brilliant piece of the puzzle. Even after signing Jackson to this deal, the Bears still have over $24 million in cap space to play with. And that's before they do any other contract restructures to open up even more space. So this deal has basically zero negative impact on their ability to make other big moves. So what this all boils down to is this. The Bears get to keep a player who proved he can perform at a high level, all while keeping their options completely open. They could still go out and sign a big-name free agent linebacker if one becomes available. They could still use a high draft pick on the position. They have a proven player in the building, but they haven't sacrificed a single ounce of opportunity to make the roster even better. It is quite literally the best of both worlds. So when you add it all up, Jackson's incredible play, the super low financial risk, the huge strategic flexibility it gives them, and the positive message it sends to the locker room, there's really only one grade you can give this thing. It is a solid A. It's a win for the player, a huge win for the front office, and a win for the team. And this final quote just wraps it all up with a bow. It was an absolute slam dunk. This is the kind of smart, layered move that separates the good front offices from the great ones. It takes care of today while keeping an eye on tomorrow. And it kind of leaves you with this bigger question, doesn't it? While the massive, blockbuster deals get all the attention on TV, maybe the real secret to building a team that wins year after year lies in these quiet, smart, foundational signings. Maybe it's these meat and potatoes deals that give a team the stability and depth it needs to survive the grind of a long season and actually compete for a title. All right, that's our take on the DeMarco Jackson signing. What do you guys think? Are you as high on this move as we are? What grade would you give this deal? Drop it down in the comments below. We love reading your thoughts. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, do us a favor and hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to NFL Nexus for more breakdowns just like this. And one last thing before you go, if you want to help support the channel, you can check out our custom NFL-themed coloring books. They are perfect for kids, grandkids, or even for adults who just want to chill out and color. You can find the link for them right down in the description. Your support really does help us keep making content like this.
Thanks so much for watching.